Before we dive in, we want to thank one of our NWA series sponsors, Pedal Park NWA, right in the heart of Farmington.
Pedal Park isn't just a place. It's a community hub built to gather, grow, and create food, friends, and festivities in real life.
They're all about connection and creativity, whether you're grabbing a bite of their delicious chicken and waffles or from one of the amazing food trucks on site, meeting up with friends, or joining an event. Pedal Park brings people together. Locals, tourists, families, foodies, entrepreneurs, even faith-based and wellness groups.
From trivia and bingo nights to disc golf putting league, pop-up vendors, theology on tap, and even business mentorship, there's always something going on.
And if you're looking to host something, birthday, pop-up, or community workshops, they've got the space and the vibe.
You'll want to visit them at 169 West Main Street in Farmington, Arkansas, or online at pedalparknwa.com.
Big thanks to Pedal Park for supporting this series. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, swing by and see what Gather, Grow, and Create really looks like. Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations.
Hey, KP, what's going on?
Hey, welcome back to another great episode of Kev Talks. But we've got an exciting beginning to this episode. We've had a giveaway for merch for some of our first ever Kev Talks merch. It is the forever coveted Kev Talks tumbler faux Yeti. But just to kind of update everybody, we've requested followers and tags on all social media in order to get your name in the drawing. Some took us up on doing all of that, which I think has greatly increased their chances for to be the winner. So with that, we're going to record. I mean, we're doing this now.
Let's do it
live just to see who the winner is, and then whoever the winner is, we'll make sure that we get the tumbler to them as soon as possible. I'll DM them on social media and get it. But I have all of their names shaken up in this, and I will pull out one piece of paper.
Drum roll.
I knew this was going to be the person. This is the person that took advantage of all. So
all of
note to self in the future. The winner of the tumbler is Dawn Campagna. And again, Dawn is the one who tagged many, many people, but also made sure that she is a follower on all social media for Kev Talks. So
congratulations, Dawn.
Gets this. I know Dawn very, very well. I've known Dawn for 40 plus years. So
wow.
She would be, Kevin, if you ever wanted to get some really good stories and dirt outside of probably family members, she's probably one that has some, and I probably should not have told you that. But she would definitely be a really, really good guest in the future for that type of stuff. But
Dawn,
anyway, congratulations, Dawn.
Yeah, congratulations, Dawn. Send me your contact. We need to talk.
And this was fun. We'll try to do some more of this. Even if you don't wait for another giveaway, please follow us on all social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X.
Yeah.
All of the above.
All the above. Well, speaking of somebody who's got dirt, and we're going to have, we're going to have one of our sponsors come on and give us a little bit of information about something special that's going on this month. Talk a little bit about her company. And I've already been informed of things I can and cannot say. So with that, let's bring on Jen from Anyway Socks. Jen, hello.
Welcome,
to our most
Jen.
Beautiful guest ever.
There you go. I told him to say that. He did good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of
$5 bucks.
family members with dirt. I have so much dirt on Kevin. It's I actually, I'm going to tell you about my sock company, but I have a story for you about Kevin and I
time.
date. Yeah, and when I say date, because we didn't really think it was like a date until like after the fact, and we were like, no, I think that was our first date. So if you usually skip the monologue, don't, because this involves swingers and lots of stuff. It's good.
Did you see Parkerson's?
I know, it's so good.
It's so great.
A couple years ago, it was Halloween, and Kevin calls me, and he knows I'm not doing anything that night because I never do anything. And he said, "Hey, I was invited to this costume party, and I just wondered if you might want to get out of the house and go with me." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have a costume." He's like, "No big deal." He said, "The lady that invited me, I've known her since third grade. I know a couple people at the party, and the people, just so you are aware, the people that are hosting the party are swingers." And he said, "It's not a big deal, but they're very open about it. So if they talk about it or whatever, I just want to give you a heads up." I was like, cool. So Kevin shows up dressed head to toe as a pirate, and I'm not planning on going to a Halloween party. So I'm dressed in jeans and a flannel shirt, and I am a lumberjack.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get to this party, and they have like chips and dips and veggies, just a little bit to eat inside. It's really most of the party's outside. And if you're not from Arkansas, you need to know that Halloween is either rainy, very hot, or it's very cold. Like rarely is it like perfect temperature. Well, this Halloween was very cold. And so most of the party's outside, and he takes me over to the bar area and introduces me to the host, who's the bartender. Well, that's where the heater is. So that's where I'm going to be parked all night long because I'm freezing. And Kevin is like, you know how Kevin is. He's running for mayor, talking to everybody. I hear the host tell somebody, yeah, we're hosting all these meet and greets, but people weren't coming. So we decided to have a Halloween party so that people would show up. So this is our meet and greet. So I like
I'm not
chose my
surprised.
drink, and I'm like, okay, Kevin, I give him a look like, please come over here immediately. So he's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, we are at a swingers meet and greet. And he was like, no, yes, we are. So it's so cold that I don't really move from the bar because that's where the heater is. I don't want to lose my spot. And I'm also like so nervous to make eye contact with anybody because I'm like, I want to leave, but the same dude I came here with, and I like don't want to like encourage anybody. And so I don't know how long I was sitting there or how many drinks I had, and I was perfectly fine. But when I got up, I was not fine. I was I was not fine at all. So we get out to the car. One of us forgot something. Ran back inside to get something, and in the meantime, on the way to the party, I had gotten a message from my best friend's sister, and I decided to play her message. Well, it was like this really sad song. So I started getting very emotional, started crying, everything. And then like I just puked in his car. So our first date was he took me to a swingers party, and then I puked in his car.
Yeah.
It was
she's first date.
Well, it really wasn't intended to be a date. It was like, hey, what are you doing? And I mean, we had a marketing company together, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And then, looking back, yeah, it was a date.
But the reason I was crying was because my best friend had committed suicide the previous year. And so when I heard from her sister, I was still trying to process everything that had happened. And it was just a really, really hard time. And she had committed suicide because of emotional and mental issues that she was having dealing with an abusive relationship that she had been in. And I tried to help her for 4 years. And there were lots of other threats and things that had happened. And one day she just had all she could see. So I was still trying to process that. And in the meantime, I really didn't care what I looked like, what I was wearing. I sure didn't care about my socks. So I would come into the office, and most of the time my socks weren't matching. And Kevin started calling me bisexual. And I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And so I went and bought all the domains for that. and wanted to kind of marry like that concept of mismatched socks with honoring my friend, and I couldn't really figure out how it was going to tie together. And then I figured out it was, I want people to leave an abusive situation any way they can, even if all they have are the mismatched socks on the floor. You just grab what you can and you leave. And so we started a company called Bisexual who sells mismatched socks. And as it went on, people were buying socks and getting behind the cause. And we changed the name to Anyway once we got in some Dillards. And so we're in 9 Dillards now, and it's called Anyway Socks. And it's wear any way you want, leave any way you can. And this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so at the Dillards where I'm sold, they are collecting items for local abuse shelters. And we give back at least 10% of total revenue to domestic violence organizations.
Awesome.
And it's anywaysocks.com. If anybody wants to go buy some, I would appreciate it. We do t-shirts too. This is one of them.
That's
awesome. Strong. I don't know if it's backwards on your video or not.
No, it's perfect.
So go and check it out.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jen. Thanks for the story that kind of gives us the purpose behind the business. And this is part of our Northwest Arkansas series. So I believe the Northwest Arkansas Dillards would have Anyway Socks. If anybody in Northwest Arkansas doesn't want to go online, they just need to get to their local Dillards and can find Anyway Socks in any of those Dillards, correct?
That's right.
That's awesome. That's great.
Well, Jen, thanks for coming on and telling some dirt and some stories. So, and I did good. I was quiet. So
that was a good one to tell, but it's not the best ones I have to tell.
Okay. So then there are more. Good. That's a great team. And maybe we get, additional content, and maybe our listeners should go to our social media accounts, and maybe some additional content with more stories behind the scenes might be available in the future.
Hashtag give me the dirt.
Right. Exactly. Very good. Exactly.
All right.
Well, and again, it goes along, Halloween is upcoming, so you kind of stuck with our Halloween theme.
Yeah.
Halloween is in a couple of weeks, so that went along with the story as well. So thanks for sharing, Jen.
Oh, see you later.
All right. See you, Jen. All right. You got a couple of things that you want to talk about before we get into introducing our guest, or are we ready to roll?
Yeah, I think, we've got the Tumblr giveaway away. Great session from Jen, Northwest Arkansas business, but also, highlighting Domestic Violence Month. But maybe before we get into our great guest, which is a Northwest Arkansas guest, this is October. So as long as I've lived here, 30 plus years, there is a time in October for where I'll say 100,000 people, Kevin, typically come into the area for arts and crafts.
This weekend.
Yes.
That's now. That starts tomorrow.
Right. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue and the influx of visitors. And that's a massive event as well. But this one's a really big one. And unfortunately, I've participated in those in the past. I haven't here recently, but my wife and children, we definitely have gone to our share of arts and crafts, and it is literally all over Northwest Arkansas. Every small community, every big city, all participate. Traffic is even more of a challenge, but it's a great time. If you can have good weather. I think Saturday might actually have a little bit of rain, but it is typically a really, really atypical fall, beautiful. Leaves are starting to turn. Typically, I think we're a few weeks behind on that, but just a really big event in Northwest Arkansas, and wanted to, just kind of promote that and ask people to, be safe and be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful
in the traffic. I mean, just since this is a Northwest Arkansas series, I wanted to at least highlight that and that event going on. There's lots of other events. Texas A&M and Arkansas are playing in Fayetteville, so that will bring in quite a few people as well. So really, really fun times in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, I forgot we still have a football team.
Yeah, well, kind of, if you want to say that. But that's another podcast.
I'm going to get some hate mail over that one.
But, there's a lot going on in the industry as well, that we will definitely get back into in the following weeks. This will be a Northwest Arkansas flavor, but there's still quite a bit of activity in regards to tariffs and peak season and things of that nature. So we'll get back into supply chain and global logistics on our next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. So we want to get into our guest. We got an exciting one this week.
We do. And I know there is some family ties with this guest. I don't know if you want to get into any of that or not, but it was really interesting. I had not met this guest prior, but we've after having him on the episode, it's been a really, really good time to get to know him.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into the family ties in the episode. We'll let everybody figure that out. So today we're going to continue our Northwest Arkansas series with someone who's helping shape the future of entrepreneurship in the heartland. Quinn Robertson, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, is a director of the 412 Angels program at Endeavor Heartland. It's a fast-growing angel network connecting investors with high-potential startups along the 412 corridor that connects Tulsa to Bentonville.
Quinn brings a mix of financial experience, community insight, and a strong belief in backing local talent. Today, we'll talk about how 412 Angels is building momentum, why it matters for logistics and supply chain innovation in Northwest Arkansas, and how you can be a part of it.
Quinn, welcome to Kev Talks.
Welcome, Quinn.
Hey, Quinn, welcome to the podcast, man. Good to have you on. It's been a minute since you and I met last summer, but glad you could make some time and spend it with KP and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, welcome, Quinn. I'm really excited for this episode. I'm going to get right into it. Tell people what the heck you do.
Yeah,
that's a question I get a lot. It's tough to do that sometimes.
Well, at a dinner party, what do you tell people? You want to impress them, but you don't want them to stick around, and stay connected to you the whole night. What do you tell them?
The way that I always tell folks, the way that I would describe it to my mother, I would say is I do Shark Tank in Northwest Arkansas without the camera and the lipstick and the makeup is basically what it is. So we're out trying to build up an entrepreneurial and a startup community in Northwest Arkansas, technology community in Northwest Arkansas. And my flavor of that and my version of that is you got entrepreneurs running around everywhere trying to build amazing businesses. They need money to do it. They need risk capital to do it. How do I help connect them to investors? How do I get new investors in Northwest Arkansas thinking about this? That's kind of generally what I'm up to. So it's a lot of fun.
Look, Northwest Arkansas is an amazing place. So that's not real hard for you, right?
It's man, there's ups and downs, but Northwest Arkansas is an amazing place to do it, is the way I would describe that.
Yeah.
So what kind of, you said specifically like technology, Quinn. I mean, is it you have a specific focus on what type of technology in a particular space, or are you just looking at, people that are crushing it and trying to really shake the world up from a technology perspective?
Yeah, the answer is we do want to find companies that are they want to be the new Facebook. They want to be the new, insert amazing companies that changes our lives on a daily or a monthly basis right now.
Yeah.
We, in general, we're going to look at a lot of different verticals. And so it's typically software adjacent, tech enabled services, hardware based companies. We're probably not going to do kind of your standard brick and mortar business or something like that, but very tech heavy and centric. I would say we've got a very broad top of funnel. We're starting to double down on things like verticals that make sense for Northwest Arkansas. So an example would be supply chain technology, retail technology, advertising, marketing technology. It's all of that type of stuff where you've got amazing support resources, amazing assets, and amazing experience and world-class knowledge that exists within a 15-minute radius of where we're sitting right now. Yeah. So that's certainly a bubble of it and an area where we like to concentrate in, but we also look at some of the other random stuff that walks in through the door too.
Yeah. Right. So are you sorry about that. Are you super early stage, or are you, where are you? Is it concept stage funding, your angel investing, getting them off of the ground, or is it they've got a certain level of annual recurring revenue? What stages are you guys involved in?
Yeah, so I would say early stage, but not the earliest of stages. If you're in like venture capital world, seed stage is typically what people kind of describe that. I absolutely hate VC nomenclature. If you find me on LinkedIn, you'll see a couple of rants about that.
Yeah.
The way that I typically describe it is you've probably sold this thing to a few people that aren't your mom, your dog, and your best friend, right? But that looks like a few tens of thousands of revenue up to $1 million, $1.5 million bucks in revenue is typically like the stage that we're looking at. A lot of people think about angel investor groups as you're going to come in with a couple of people in a garage with a concept and a PowerPoint deck. And don't get me wrong, there are some groups that absolutely invest at that stage across the country. With our group, there's been a preference we need a little bit more substance, a little bit more meat on the bones relative to this. And people have just gotten a little bit more comfortable with that. I think long term, we'll even look earlier and earlier stage. Maybe a product has been built, but you haven't sold it yet. Like that's an area we want to get to long term. But for right now, little bit of revenue all the way up to maybe $1 million or so in revenue is about the stage we're looking at.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So Quinn, I think we mentioned earlier in the intro 412 Angels, and I think a lot of people in Northwest Arkansas, when they think 412, they're thinking traffic. Where did that name come from?
Yeah, I grew up a mile south of 412 and drove it almost every day while I was growing up. So I understand that reference wholeheartedly. 412 at the original inception, this program was launched as a partnership between the Walton Family Foundation in Northwest Arkansas and the George Kaiser Family Foundation over in Tulsa. And so Highway 412 connects the two. Yeah. The original kind of concept was we need more angel investment activity in the form of new angel investors, well-educated angel investors, writing checks, getting involved on both sides of the pond, as some might say. Can we make 1 + 1 = 3 and do these things together? The program's kind of shifted and morphed into what geos of focus we want to look at long term, but the thesis still certainly exists. And I think that exists both with Tulsa. It could also exist in other communities that are similar to Northwest Arkansas in the region. And so initial inception, very much kind of 412 corridor right there. And that's still really a strong component of that. But we're also thinking about like, how do we go bigger and larger as well?
Yeah. There, and in that, I think that one thing that like hopefully people will start to understand or realize is the talent and what is happening inside of that corridor. There are some amazing things happening, and you've probably seen them. Just give a shout out to one of those companies that Ox, right? So Charu, who started Ox, I mean, that's just an amazing success story, I think, for Northwest Arkansas, her coming from Georgia Tech over to here to really kind of put that company in place. And then, in Tulsa, I don't know if you know these or not, but like Ironbird Studio, I mean, there are rocket scientists who are creating technology companies within 120 miles of us. And it's just absolutely amazing.
Higgins, you don't know rocket scientists. That's not your world.
None of us know rocket science. Let's get serious.
I don't know anything about it other than I sat there with my jaw just on the ground listening to these guys talk, and they're just super cool. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on in Northwest Arkansas, and it's super exciting to me, having grown up here, to see people like you who are looking for those companies to invest in, to really get them off of the ground and give them the push and the shove that they need in order to make some incredible concept a reality. So
yeah, and it's the thing that we're trying to balance, and this is something in full transparency we haven't gotten 100% right. We're working on that, and I think we've done a pretty good job. A lot of people ask me, are you only investing in companies that are based in Northwest Arkansas or in Tulsa or something like that? And the short answer is no. When we find a local company, we want to put them to the front of the line from an evaluative process, from ways that we want to help and support. And they're the folks that we really want to wrap our arms around. But we also recognize that there are companies in Atlanta, or companies that are in Chicago or Omaha, Nebraska, or wherever they may be. And those companies make sense for getting plugged into Northwest Arkansas. If you're a cybersecurity for fleet and logistics companies, you should probably know some folks around Northwest Arkansas. We probably
100%.
have some good connections for you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they end up dropping a human being here from sales, customer support, tech developer, something like that. That's certainly a great nice to have there. So it's not only is it kind of the Northwest Arkansas play, there's the, if you're here now, rock and roll, but also, should you be looking here? Should you be thinking about here? Can we build sort of this like connector nexus that also exists there as well? And so not perfect on how we execute that, but doing, I think, a pretty good job with it too.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So are you guys participating in like a lot of the accelerators that are taking place here and getting introduced to, those companies, whether it's Fuel or there's a new one now Tom Douglas has started called Fuse, I think, right? Mm-hmm. So what kind of engagement do you guys have with those types of accelerators?
Great partnership. The folks that are running those, along with like the university ones with outdoor rec and cycling and that type of stuff, typically a couple of different ways. One, as just thought partner for the companies that are going through them. So I've gotten dropped on a couple of panels as like, what does the angel investing market look like for me as a founder thinking about raising money? Or what does the VC market look like? Or I've got a pitch deck that I need to send to investors. Will you bring out your red pen and just like go at it for a little while?
Yeah.
So I've done a little bit of that, and that's one way that we engage. But also the companies that are jumping out the other side of those accelerators are probably best targets for us to look at as prospective investment opportunities. And so we look at every single one of those, whether they be the accelerators, the local incubators that are actually genning up companies from the ground up. All of those are places that we're trying to find companies to prospectively invest in, because they're either already here or already tied in. We're just going to be another mechanism to kind of keep planting the roots here.
Yeah.
So Quinn, are there any like local ones that you can mention, upcoming events, road shows, pitch competitions, any of that that you are either investing in or that you're attending, any of that you can share?
Yeah. Specifically on the event side, as we're looking at kind of later in the year, my group typically will do a once or twice a month, like a angel investor education event. And that could be anything from like, how do you get started in this space? Because a lot of folks have never heard of this type of thing. And so that's one area that we'll do. We'll also do like a drop in the expert. And maybe that's a lawyer who's worked in the venture capital space for a while, or wealth manager thinking about this as a component of the portfolio, or even like a VC fund manager from Austin. And, they've been doing this for a decade. And like, we want to bring some knowledge and experience in. So we'll do one or two of those a month. We've got a bunch of that stashed out on our website. A few of the big events that we have, and some of these like we're owning and running. Some of these we're just like, how do you partner with some of the other cool stuff that's going on in Northwest Arkansas? There's the Retail Innovation Week that's coming up in September. There's a lot of momentum and a lot of really good stuff that's going to be coming out of that. I'm super excited for it. We've got our kind of annual summit that also goes on. And that's going to be like early November as well, where we bring in like, it's a celebration of angel investing. It's a what have we done? Getting folks who have never thought about it. It's the first way to dip their toe in. We do that in November. Another, a few events that go ongoing as well. If you guys have kind of mentioned Serafina Lalani and some of the stuff she's doing with Startup NWA, bringing in venture capitalists from across not only the country, I think the planet really, into Bentonville, Arkansas. I know that they do that at some like regular quarterly-ish cadence. So I imagine there'll be another one of those that'll be coming through as well. So all of those great events that are coming on, I think, here later in the year. And as we think about like companies that we might want to look at later in the year, all of them are done on a rolling basis. So if someone's local and wants to be the next Shark Tank company for later, hit up my inbox. I would love to do that. We've had a few local companies pitch us earlier in the year and last year as well. So we're we're excited to continue to build some of those out as well.
Yeah, so I get that. I get all excited when we start talking about everything that's going on. And I want to go back to something he said a little bit earlier, KP, because, Quinn did me a solid about this time last year. Actually, he and I met in Bentonville at Onyx and sat down, and I told him what I was doing at the time, and he gave me some incredible advice. And so he took time out of his day, just to give me some advice as a founder and as somebody who was looking at something. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it some other time, Quinn, but kind of shifted directions, had some things happen, but I'll fill you in on that. But so a lot of exciting things going on, but he took time out of his day, really kind of redlined some things, and then gave me some great advice. So man, if you're a founder or if you've got an idea, I would say take advantage of that and get out there.
That's a great segue, Higgins. You're looking at my notes. I was going to say, what advice would you give someone considering investing or starting in our region? You gave Higgins some advice. Give us some advice that we can give to our listeners.
Yeah, I'll come at it from a couple of different angles. If you're sitting in Northwest Arkansas, maybe behind corporate walls, or you've run a family business or whatever, background you might have or experience you might have, and, the concept of getting involved in startup land is of interest or came across your desk or your newsfeed or something, I always say start with, I think it's the Boulder thesis. It's like give first is sort of the thought process. You got entrepreneurs that are building great stuff, and your HR experience, your connection to a random developer that's looking for a new thing that could be a great CTO, like go out, get involved with that type of stuff, go to the events, go to the coffees and stuff like that, but give first. Maybe you want to end up writing a check at some point. And so if you start off with the give first, after that, if you're like, man, there's some great stuff coming along here, I might want to invest in some of this too. Think about diversifying my portfolio. I always give two pieces of advice. One of them is it is hard to start this game going solo and lone wolf. We have a community of about 50 folks that are involved, but there are also other places you can plug into, other like-minded people that have been on this journey from 1 month to 20 years. Go find the crew that's done this and start to kind of learn by osmosis a little bit. And then the other thing is the best people in the world at investing are right like 1 out of 3 times, really right like 1 out of 10 times, and really, really right like 1 out of 100 times. So don't just think that you're going to walk in and be the greatest stock picker ever, right? Think about doing this as a small risk, a high risk, high reward component of your portfolio, and go learn all of the stuff as you're doing all of that. So that's the advice for the investor curious people. For the founders, I always maybe give another couple of pieces of advice. It's a little bit, maybe not taboo, but I always say success begets capital, not the other way around. And so if you're thinking about launching a company, launching a product, your sweat equity, how you're validating a real problem that exists, have you put some, have you hired or brought on a co-founder who can help build the technology, and you guys have already built this thing as a starting point? Your ability to knock off some of those early dominoes as quickly as possible, those are the early success levers that are then going to beget capital, not, oh, I need to sit on my hands until someone gives me money, then I can go do something. So that's the early starting point. And then the second thing is, it is a hard time to fundraise in 2025. You can look at a bunch of data right now. Companies, the number of bridge rounds, down rounds, it's like close to or at all-time highs, right? It's a tough fundraising environment for founders right now. Continue to build those relationships. And I think it was Pitbull, I could be wrong, but if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money type of thing. So
that was
go
Pitbull.
and,
Yep.
Okay, I'll take that one, the shout out over there. It's go and build relationships with these investor folks or investor adjacent folks, and go and learn from them. And maybe, there will be a dollar or cent that exists on the other side of that. Starting the relationship with getting some advice from people is an interesting way to get access to money, but continue to build those relationships. So as an entrepreneur, local or otherwise, those would be the couple of pieces of advice that I'd give out to folks right now.
That's really
I think
good
that is such incredible advice. And the give first thing, I think, not only applies to investors, but that I would put that on a founder too. Like when you're going out and you're meeting people and you want to engage somebody with the long-term goal of getting them interested in what you're doing, you need to give them something, right? Don't just start asking, because the quickest way to get me to exit a party is to immediately start asking me for things, whether it's money or whether it's time or, something. Just get to know me and give me your time, give me something. And so I would just apply that to founders too. It's hard to do because when you go to an event and you're like, you see all these investors in there, you want to go up and you want to say, I got the greatest thing you've never seen. Let me show it to you. Give me $1 million. We're going to be rich and famous. It's hard not to do, but I think it's just great advice for everybody.
Yeah. And Quinn, you just did what you're telling everybody to do. You just gave some great advice.
Yeah.
We could have charged $19.95 for that, but you just gave, okay, maybe $29.95.
Yeah.
I'll take the royalty. You just let me know.
Right? Yeah. Right. But listen, Quinn, so, listening to you, this sounds like a fun job, and a lot of people are going to, I think that it's all fun and games. And I know no job is, but tell their audience, how did you get into this? Did you go to school to do this? And how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, it's a story of never intended to happen, but so insanely excited that it did. I went to the U of A, grew up in like the Northwest Arkansas school system, went to the U of A, accounting track, passed the CPA exam. And then after an internship when I was in college, I went into full-time, moved to Wichita, Kansas for a large private company. A guy randomly pulled me out of a line while I was doing my intern interviews. And he's like, hey, this accounting stuff or this like deep technical stuff, he's like, you don't really look like this makes sense for you. And I said, you're spot on. Well done with that. And so he pulled me into sort of this finance digital transformation capability thing. We had no idea what we called ourselves, but basically it was like, how does this large legacy private company start to think about technology and how to make itself better? And so I got introduced to like startups and like venture capital finance when I was doing that. I did that for about 5 years. I had a mentor of mine and a great friend that was basically building out. There's a nonprofit, a great nonprofit in Northwest Arkansas called Startup Junkie. That's like one of the nexuses of startup activity here. It's just doing great work. He was basically like tearing an entity like that down to the studs and rebuilding it back up in Wichita, Kansas, focused on Wichita and the state of Kansas. And he's like, hey, the first thing that I want to do is go and build out a mechanism for folks, local entrepreneurs and state entrepreneurs to get access to capital. And that's going to look like an angel group. Do you want to come do this with me? And you're going to get paid less. You're going to work longer hours, but you're going to have a heck of a lot more fun doing it. And I said, I only understood half the words that you just said, but like, let's rock and roll. It sounds like fun. And so I got thrown in the deep end, and it was building up an angel investor community in Wichita, Kansas, continuing to expand there, learning how to diligence a company, screen a company, what are the back end portfolio management support, all of that stuff that you do for the entrepreneurs and the investors. I had some great mentors around me, but they threw me in the deep end and they let me kind of go and build that up, which was a lot of fun. And so did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then the 412 Angels opportunity was getting kind of launched and getting early started. And, my extended family is in Northwest Arkansas. They live in Clifty. If anybody knows where Clifty, Arkansas is, that says something.
It's my hometown.
No way. I didn't know that.
Both of my parents are from Clifty, Arkansas.
Yeah.
I love it. For the record, if you don't know anything about that, if you're driving through, you are probably the population of Clifty. But I would also say some of the most amazing people, like just a great crowd that live out there. And so like they've been here for over 100 years.
Yeah.
We had the family farm, I think, hit its 100th year sometime while I was growing up.
Are y'all related by any chance?
It's Arkansas. You don't know, but I don't think the answer is yes on that.
Or no.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, that was, I had a desire to get back here. My immediate family here is here. My extended family is here. And so the opportunity arose and I had to come. I had to say yes and come back and do something that I was starting to get, I think, pretty good at, but do it for, the place that I call home. And so that for me was sort of the getting back story.
Man. Well, welcome back. Northwest Arkansas is glad to have you, and
absolutely,
we're definitely benefit from having you here. But I got, how do you guys, from an investment perspective, I want to kind of go off on a tangent here, but do you look to people like in the adjacent industries? If you're looking at investing in a company, what part of your what is your diligence, if you will, not to give away all the secret sauce or anything, but and the reason I'm asking this question is because I've seen some people invest in companies and I just sit there and I scratch my head and I'm like, why would you put so much money into this company? Because I'm in that business and it doesn't make any sense to me. So what type of diligence are you looking at with people in the industry or adjacent to that industry when you're looking to invest?
Yeah, it's a great question, and one of the reasons I mentioned earlier that we are a little like bubble or a little focus area for us, starting to look at logistics tech, supply chain tech, cyber tech, like all of those types of things. We've got a great wealth of knowledge here locally related to all of that, and they sit some behind corporate walls, some have jumped outside of corporate walls, or just have been in service of some of the corporate walls around here. Mm-hmm. And so, as a part of that diligence process, to me, as I'm evaluating a company, the biggest thing that I think I see that is a signal for prospective future growth and adoption is hard pain point, massive pain that folks are probably trying to solve today. And so your ability to get crystal clear on magnitude, sense of urgency, willingness to adopt, and just level of pain for that specific problem set that they're going after and getting very clearly defined around that. I will say, like, everyone has how they think about diligencing and screening companies differently. That's like the biggest rock to me that you got to push over. And so utilizing local folks that have been in supply chain, not only like local, but like national and at a global level. Like, have you thought about something like this? Were you solving this problem internally at some point and just like you built 2 tools, all of them died on the vine and you're still just, using pen and paper, Excel file, whatever it may be. And so we've built up like a group of individuals that are, in no way indebted to me, but like just, I've got them on a Rolodex and I can call them up or send them an email with just like hey, what do you think about this? Give me like your 10-second version, and then maybe let's hop on a 30-minute phone call and really dig into this if it passes the sniff test too.
Yep.
So that's always a part of the diligence process that exists. Sometimes it's different. If you find the random rocket company that like I can tell you I don't know about at all, then it's go and find other investors in other locations. Maybe we've got some talent here. Maybe it's the folks over in Tulsa that were rocket scientists, right?
Yeah, right.
Maybe going and finding other investors or other folks that are in that space that are also willing to give a level of advice about the industry, about the problem and pain point. So I would say that's one of the biggest ways that we try to involve like folks who have amazing vertical specific or horizontal specific knowledge in like our evaluative process.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That's great answer.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So Quinn, how many Shark Tank episodes have you watched?
I have watched probably 50 to 100. I jump in and out of it every now and again. But I will say,
sit down and binge watch those, or are you sick and tired of that? And I want nothing to do with that at the end of the day. Which one is it? I can see how it can go either way.
It's off and on, but I think frequently it's just not on my standard go-tos now. But like if it's on, it's always fun. It's always an interesting way to see how people are thinking about the future and taking active steps to go and do that. And that could be like new dog biscuit business thing. It could be new like medallion AI, I'm going to look at the world and be your AI assistant thing. Like it's everything between all of that. There's there's a fun part about my role, and I think folks that kind of live in startup land, startup support land, or entrepreneur and investor world of you get to watch the people that see a better version of the world and then go and do something about it. And you're on the cutting edge on a daily basis. And you may start off knowing absolutely nothing about what they're up to, but just the spirit behind it, that's the fun part to me. So like that's the reason why I jump into the Shark Tanks every now and again. But I will say when I first got into this and was thrown in the deep end, I probably binge watched no less than like 50 to 75 within a few weeks or so, just to like, what questions are they asking, all of that type of stuff. So I probably got burnt out for a window.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What did you glean from those episodes? More of what not to do or what to do? And did you ever just go, oh, I like that one. Let me get in contact with them. Have you ever done that?
We actually had a company that did present on Shark Tank that ended up pitching the angel investor group that I had. I don't remember which was which, if I found the company and then realized they were on Shark Tank or one or the other, but we have had one of those for sure.
Okay, we'll have them on the podcast and we'll ask them to tell their side of the story.
Biggest learning and lesson from all of that. They frequently will dig into an entrepreneur's why. You know, why'd you start this? One of the ones that like, you know, occasionally I still on a random Tuesday afternoon, you'll pull up a little 5-minute video. I think it's called the Tree TP. If you guys like saw that, it was like the product was super simple. It's a little plastic thing that sits on the top of like the root system for trees, for orchards and stuff, basically helping improve frost, helping yield with farmers. And he was selling to farmers. And the video of them asking him, well, why don't you, charge $12 for this? He's like, well, I charge $5. I make $1 on it. I'm selling to farmers. They can't do $12. And so his why was, I'm a farmer and I'm helping farmers. Like that's a guy. He's not going to be completely wedded to his product. He's got a problem that he wants to go and solve and a customer base that he deeply cares about. That's a human being that through the ups and downs and sideways is going to continue to like go and do awesome stuff and keep pushing forward versus like hit a small little roadblock, stub his toe and then, stop because he found it interesting as a Google search one time. So like for me, the founder why is an interesting one that I'd say I gleaned out of that I also frequently talk to founders about as well. Because you're going to be signing up if you invest with these companies. Like the statistics are like these are going to last longer than an average marriage in the US, right? And so like you want to know their why and you want to know that they're going to be here building and doing great stuff and grinding, 7-10 years from now. So that's probably the biggest lesson I learned out of that.
Well, I got follow-up question or point because because I've had conversations in the past where I was part of a group and we were trying to raise money and there were certain investors who would be like, what's your exit? And I'm like, I don't want to exit because I'm looking at this for a lifetime. And they're like, okay, we're out. They had no interest in investing because I wasn't interested, or part of my plan wasn't the exit where we go, okay, I need $1 million right now. And they were just, what's the next, what are you going to need? What's a Series A? What's a Series B? What's a Series C? And then what's your exit? And when are you out? And I was like, we don't need a Series A because we're going to be profitable and we're going to be generating a ton of cash. So how do you feel about that? Because I have a sense that like you're more concerned with like the why. Why are you doing this? What is the long-term strategy on this? So how does that compare to how you guys look at things?
It's a fine balance. And, I have to recognize two things. One, especially like in angel land, it doesn't exist in VC land. Pretty much everybody there is highly capitalistic driven. Like that's the core focus. In angel land, you get the spectrum, right? You get the folks that are the deal junkies looking for alpha, looking for the next thing. And like, that's their driver. You've got the guys or the gals that are like, I'm investing in you. I may never see this money again, but I want to support you. And then everywhere in between. So there are some people and they make their own decisions on what that exists there. I look at it as there is a why that has to exist. There is also the other balance of like, there can be great companies in the world, but not investable companies. right? If I'm a $5 million top line business and $1 bottom line business,
yeah,
like it's potentially a great company, but maybe not an investable company.
right.
I think what people most frequently, to your comment of, I want to build a great business and have great jobs for people around me and build an amazingly profitable thing. Aligning as an entrepreneur, aligning the type of capital that you're taking and the expectations of your investors with what you want to do is going to solve like 80% of the problems that you may run into. If you're working with folks that are oriented to like growth, exit, like if your company is archetyped like that, if that's what you want to do and you're showing market signals that suggest that you can walk down that path, boom, pop into that lane.
Yeah.
If you're like, I want to build the greatest $10 million top line business, $2 million bottom line business, and our investors are going to get mailbox money for the next 25 years, like you can build an appropriate case that is do good for the world, but then also return oriented and driven at the same time. And I think people frequently look at option A. Option B is a real scenario there too. But when you cross those wires or have misaligned expectations or not understood expectations, then you run into problems, right? And so it's all about what's the return profile look like and under what circumstances and under what strategy and story. Like as long as all of those line up, you can make a great investable business and slice it 25 different ways for a good return for those investors.
And I think you just gave some incredible advice to every founder out there, because it is an important, what I heard you say is it's not just important for you guys as the investment arm to understand the why from the founder. It's important for the founder to align themselves with investors who are mentally aligned, who are aligned with the long-term program and not just take money. I think I've seen people over the past 10 years be like, I need $1 million to get this thing really launched off the ground. And they have an investor which wasn't aligned with their way of thinking. And then the next thing you know, the founder's out. Yeah. And so I don't know what you might follow up with that if I'm right in my way of thinking on the advice that you just gave.
Yeah, I do think you're right. You do need to have alignment with your investors. Now, how quality of an investment opportunity you are, at all of these other reasons, sometimes a dollar is green and the business is not profitable and you're going to not exist in, 30 days. So like there are times when money is green, right? When you're in the seat that you are able to make some of those decisions, I think it's very appropriate to do so on that front. And so the other thing that I'll maybe posit though is I'll come back to the comment that I made, which was there are some great companies out there that are just not investment ready or investable, as an example. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's a point in time, maybe that's just a long-term thing. But I think if you're talking to folks, they can add value to you. And sometimes that doesn't mean it's a check. Because sometimes for them, their risk profile, whatever it may be, even you as a business, like it may just not be a right fit on that front. But anybody that you're chatting with on that side, like you still have the ability to extract value, connections, industry knowledge, whatever it may be there too.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Quinn, this has been excellent. You have given such good insight, on this world, and I think our listeners are just going to thoroughly enjoy, the entire episode. But where can our listeners learn more or connect with you, and how can interested leaders engage with 412 Angels as an investor or an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So we have a website, 412angels.com. So that would be the one way to like just go and what are we up to? Probably 75% oriented to net new angel investors that are just like, I want to learn more about this world, because that's like a core stakeholder that we have. There's also great stuff for entrepreneurs there as well. I would also say like, feel free to like reach out via email, quinn.robertson@endeavor.org. I didn't mention as a part of this, but our angel group is run underneath a local nonprofit called Endeavor that is a part of like a global entrepreneur support organization as well. I think they're in like 45 some odd markets or something like that, but doing really great work with entrepreneurs globally and plugging folks in kind of all across the globe, which is great. So that would be kind of the email. The other thing is like Quinn Robertson somewhere on LinkedIn, the dude that at least today is like black vest, squinty eye in one of the eyes in the picture. So like if you find that and he's based in Bentonville, it's probably me, because I don't think there's really any more of me running around Northwest Arkansas. But like that's the easiest ways to kind of get plugged in with me. The other thing is there's a few good local websites. I think Startup Junkie does one. I think Startup NWA does one. They've got websites as well as kind of newsletters that they'll send out at a level of frequency for like events that you can jump around Northwest Arkansas to get plugged into. And it'll range anywhere from like some of my stuff that's I'm a net new angel investor, or I watched Shark Tank yesterday and I got inspired. How do I get plugged in? Like all of that type of stuff, to local entrepreneur coffee meetup, to everything in between. So, you know, those would be the ways that I think folks can kind of get plugged into stuff that's going on in the Northwest Arkansas area. And if the investing bug kind of bites you a little bit, then like reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll probably accept it, and like we'll probably grab coffee at Onyx or something like that here before too terribly long. So,
which the three of us need to do sometime soon. KP, the three of us need to meet up in Bentonville and have some coffee and get caught up. I think that'd be awesome.
That sounds like a great plan. I also I can't promise that this, but I think, you know, I probably go there once a day is probably an average for me, and sometimes it's multiple times a day. I might be owning their P&L. I might be keeping them afloat. I'm not entirely certain of that. But yeah, that sounds great.
I think you probably are. Yes, absolutely. So,
sounds like a pub in Fayetteville for me.
Right. Well, listen, Quinn, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thanks for being here. Great insights on how early stage capital is really shaping 412 Corridor. If you're a founder, an investor, or an operator looking to get involved, check out 412 Angels, follow them on LinkedIn, show up to an event. We'll put all this information in the notes of this episode. Thanks again, Quinn. Great.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thanks for your time, man.
Sure thing.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform.